that they never told you growing up when you're broke is that your time is more valuable than anything. And when you got no money and you're trying to get somewhere, you penny pitch, you penny pitch, you penny pitch. You don't got a choice. Your back's against the wall. You're one car issue away from bankruptcy. A transmission goes out in your car, you're screwed. You're gonna lose your job. You ain't got the money to fix the transmission. You're gonna have to bum the money off of somebody. The banks own your ass. You got a crappy credit score. You can't get a credit card to get the transmission. If you did have a credit card, you probably already charged it up. I'm just talking about where I grew up. That's how the mentality was, and you never really thought about paying someone to kind of do things for you. As I started to have success, on the other hand, I started to trade that thought of, oh, I can save, $75 this week by cutting my own lawn. And I enjoyed cutting my lawn. I put my headphones on and I would try not to get stung by a bunch of yellow jackets. It was 45 minutes of cutting grass, weed whacking. I enjoyed it until I realized it wasn't really 45 minutes. It was more like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Had to do maintenance on the lawnmower, sharpen the blades. A weed whacker ran out of string. I needed to cut these trees. These bushes need to be trimmed. These weeds need to be ends up being hours. And there was a point in my life where I started to think, hey, if I just took these 2 hours and read a book, if I took these 2 hours and worked, it would more than pay for the $75. So as I was able to afford to, I started to offload these things that weren't worth my time. And it's not that it wasn't too good to do them, it was just that I was starting multiple companies and I wanted some free time in my life. And plus, I was constantly learning or trying to learn. If I could free up 5 hours a week and actually do something productive with it, then it was money well spent. And that's where it's like you hire someone to clean your house if you got a larger house. You have someone do your lawn. I still like changing my oil once in a while, but unless I got a really down day and I do that, I'm going to pay someone to change my oil, right? There's these little things that I will outsource if I know that it can get done right and I'm going to use that time for something productive, which is the trap. The number one trap is I'm going to take this $725 I spend on chores and I'm going to have someone do those chores to free up my time. The problem is most people don't do anything with that time. You end up watching Netflix, you sleep in, you piss the time away. And we lie to ourselves. It's we deserve it. I needed to take a break. I needed to rest. I work hard for we convinced ourselves why it was okay. But the real reason why you spent the money was that you wanted to free up time to do something. And a lot of people just fall into that trap. So if I spend the money to save myself 2 hours on the lawn, then I try to spend that 2 hours, doing something I wouldn't have normally done. Read a book, spend 2 hours working on one of my companies, 2 hours writing, 2 hours producing music, 2 hours working on my podcast, working on this show. If I need to work on my health, then I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do some tennis. Just the thought of, paying someone to cut my lawn while I sit inside and eat pizza and watch them cut my lawn sounds really unproductive. Then you kind of translate that into, well, how far do you work? How far are you from work? Now, I like driving and I like doing a lot of my phone calls from the car. Um, Not for everybody. That's me. I like to drive. I love listening to music. I got, big ass subwoofer in my truck. I like bumping out. Love music. I like driving. Now, when you're spending 2 hours a day driving, it's 10 hours a week times 52. That's, yeah, math. A lot of goddamn hours over the course of a year. Is it worth your time to live that far from work? And you start thinking, well, if I cut that in half and I actually use that half, let's just say it's 250 hours, what could I do with that 250 hours a year if I was actually productive with it? And if you think about how many weeks, full weeks of work time you could gain just by cutting your drive to work in half. This is where people that are really efficient and they think like this and they actually use the free time, this is why they make just leaps and bounds of progress. And they leave a bunch of people sitting in the dust. And it's like, I think people they kind of move further and further away Not thinking about how much goddamn time it eats up. I would like to have that 250 hours. I could make a lot of money in 250 hours. Plus, it's just 250 hours. Maybe I want to spend time with my family. Maybe I want to work on myself. Maybe I want to. Who knows what I want to do? That's a lot of time. It's do I want to spend that in the car? And that's one thing I learned once I got out of my old neighborhood and I got around people that really had money. They respected their time more than anything on this planet. It That's all that mattered to them. Because with time, they could do anything. They weren't spending time doing all these like mundane chores around the house. They weren't driving an hour to work. They were looking for any way possible to save themselves time. I'm that way with eating food, going out to a restaurant. I'm not sitting outside for an hour and a half waiting to eat. If I can get a reservation, if I know an owner, I can call ahead of time or something. Who's got an hour and a half to sit outside? Now, some people do. I'm just saying I don't, and then if I do, that's not how I want to spend my hour and a half. Unless I'm walking around the city, maybe having a drink or two. It's crazy when you start evaluating people, especially those who say they're trying to get somewhere, how much time they waste. It's, I'm up at, who knows, 5:36 on a Saturday, and I know people that sleep in. They're 35 years old, they still sleep until 11 o'clock noon, and then they're complaining about, well, I don't know where I want to be. They're not where they want to be. And I'm like, well, shit, I've been up for 6 hours. Like, I almost got a whole day's worth of work in by the time you woke your ass up. And it's this whole mindset of time and how do you use the time. You talk to anybody, they always tell you how busy they are. I'm busy. I've been busy. I'm busy. Well, do you want to go? Have you done that? Well, I haven't had time. I haven't had time. I haven't had time. It's like, dude, I know people with like 3 or 4 kids that like still go to the gym every day, work 50, 55 hours a week. Like they do it all and they still got time. And I see this person that's like, single and 32 and they're telling me they don't have time and they ain't got shit going on. What do you mean you don't have time? What the fuck have you been doing? And then if you really press someone, you'll see that they start to get kind of pissed off because they don't, they don't want to, they believe their own bullshit and you're kind of calling them on it. There are some people that are very busy, but even the busiest people on the planet can make a little bit of time, right? So that thought is, do you have your life set up to really succeed? It's what's your drive looking like to work? How much time are you spending doing things in your life that you could offload onto somebody else? Assuming that when you offload that time, you can use that time to do something productive, to learn, to make more money, to get a promotion, to start a side gig, to start a side business, to do anything. Work on your health, work on your fitness, do a hobby, chase a goal. Man, respect your time at the end of the day. We'll take jobs that pay, $1,000 more that are twice the drive because we're so, caught up on getting a little bit more money, not thinking about what that 200 or 300 or 400 hours a year, a goddamn year, adds up to be. And when you think about what you can do with 300 or 400 hours, shit. Just imagine if you saved 100 hours a year driving and someone was willing to pay you $20 an hour, how much money that is. I always said my free times went to $150 an hour when I was consulting. If you wanted me to come out after hours, I'm like, my free time's worth at least $150 and sometimes a lot more. Man, if you're actually really good at something, if you master the craft, if you can do something that's in high demand and someone needs you, they will pay your freight. But think about how much time you spend just wasting time and doing low value work. Man, pick up a book, do a side gig, start a side business. Shit, you're better off driving an Uber. Probably all that time you're driving to the job or doing these chores and shit. I don't know. Random thought. I saw this pop up, and it's a philosophy I didn't believe in when I was growing up because I didn't have a choice. You didn't have any money. You couldn't pay someone to cut your lawn. You couldn't pay someone to do your chores. You had to do that shit. You had to take care of all your stuff yourself. You had to fix everything yourself, right? It's who had money to go get anything fixed. And then you realize, as you start making more money and having more success, and it's like, well, I can afford to offload this. And now I'm going to use this time to do something more productive. And It all comes down to efficiency and productivity at the end of the day. There's those people that wake up at 4:30 in the morning. As I know a lot of successful people that get up at 4:30, and that doesn't automatically make you successful. But goddamn, do they get a lot of shit done in the morning because phone ain't ringing, they're not messing around on social media, they ain't got no friends or family bugging them, they're just knocking stuff out. By the time 8:30 rolls around, they've done got 2 hours of work in, went to the gym, had breakfast, picked up their dry cleaning, like, and a lot of people are just getting to the office at that time. Um, just something to think about. It's how do we use our time? Do we maximize it? Most don't. So, anyways, something to think about. Maybe you're better off offloading some things and using some of your free time for something more productive. So, that's all I got for this one. I'll catch you on the next one.